The Ocu, or the Pado, is the 17th episode of the 6th season of 2.5 Men. This is directed by James Widdoes, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. I don't really have that many thoughts though, I don't have a tremendous amount to say. I didn't dislike it, it's an interesting story, but it's maybe not the funniest. It starts off with Charlie in bed with Chelsea, and she playfully says, "I hate you," to which Charlie responds, "That's too bad because I love you." And clearly, Charlie is a little surprised that he said this, but I like the fact that he didn't try and backtrack it. He actually stood his ground and said, "Yes, I love you." And she responds, "That's so sweet, thank you." Which is not necessarily what Charlie wanted to hear, and he ends up talking with Dr. Freeman, and we have a great scene. This is after he's talked with Alan, and Charlie is... It's very unusual for Charlie to feel this about somebody. And he said something that I thought was quite interesting. He said, "She knows I love her. The whole balance of power is completely out of whack." And Dr. Freeman seemed concerned that Charlie looked at this as a balance of power, but I think he has a valid point. If you love somebody who doesn't love you back, it's almost like you're at their mercy. Maybe that's an over-the-top way of looking at it, but you're the one who's emotionally more vulnerable than they are. And I think Charlie had a pretty valid point there. He then talks with Berta about it, who had some fun things to say. He then tries to talk with Jake about it, but that doesn't go anywhere. We kind of end the scene pretty quickly. And then he gets an idea, and he rushes to tell Alan, who is on the toilet. There we have the Ocu or Pado part of the title. And the next thing we know, Charlie is at a restaurant with Chelsea, and he's planning on putting the ring in her drink. And he does this, and she drinks it, which I think we could have seen coming. It's not uncommon for this to happen in films and sitcoms where somebody will inevitably swallow the ring at some point, and she does. And I have to say, much to her credit, she didn't just automatically say, "Yes, I love you, I'll marry you," because that's what she felt she had to say in the moment. I think she was very true to how she was feeling. She wasn't just swept up in the moment, and I think that was the right decision. If she suddenly turned around and started to say "I love you" just because there was a ring involved, it might not have been as believable. She kind of said she guesses she loves Charlie, which was kind of enough for Charlie. He's not even concerned about getting married. He's not bothered about that. He just wanted the balance of power to be restored, and that's where I don't agree with Charlie. I agree that that was a concern, but I don't think his actions were right. But things seem to be going quite well, and we end the episode with Chelsea in the bathroom, and then we hear a clink, and clearly she's passed the ring that she swallowed. I don't know if that's accurate. I have no idea how long that would take to go through her system. There was a joke about how Jake once swallowed nickels, and he still occasionally passes one out, which is it sounds really unpleasant. But it was a decent episode. There's not really anything about it that didn't work. There's nothing that I didn't like, but it's maybe not the most funny. And certainly with Charlie as a character, it's quite interesting. Charlie has been on quite an interesting character journey these last few episodes. In fact, I'd say the bulk of this season, Charlie has had a lot of feelings he's not used to, and it's quite interesting seeing those being played out. And in general, no complaints. The Ocu or the Pado may not be a favourite, but that being said, it works well. It's entertaining enough. Charlie as a character is certainly fascinating. As I said, I think Chelsea had a very believable response to the restaurant situation. I think everything she said, I believed. I don't think anything was fake or false. I think she was very true to what she was feeling, and I appreciate that. I thought that worked really well. And I did worry for a second when Charlie was suddenly no longer concerned about getting married now that she'd said she guesses she loves him. I was worried that she'd be a bit annoyed by that he was just proposing for the wrong reasons, but she wasn't that concerned. So I think for everybody, all's well that ends well, and she got a nice ring out of it, although I'll be honest, I'm assuming the ring cost quite a bit, but I don't know if I'd want to wear it after it had been through my body. I'm not entirely sure, but either way, she seemed quite happy with it at the end, and ultimately the Ocu or the Pado is not a bad episode of 2.5 Men.